Right, so I've been driving for well over a decade, manual, automatic, and even a tractor uphill. But all of that stuff was in India. And now France won't let me touch a steering wheel without jumping a couple of hoops. Sure, I've technically driven here in France before. The first 6 months when I moved in, I had this international driver's license. I drove a car in Lille and another one here in Paris, and that tractor thing was actually in France. But I'm not too confident with the CV because I've been observing French driving. I'll tell you why. See, in Europe, if you're stressed and you slow down on the left like we do in India, you just step into the fast track with a really slow car. And the fast tracks in France are way faster than the fast tracks in India. This is a recipe for disaster. In India, we also overtake on the right. Everything is the other way around. Sometimes sitting in the front seat of a taxi on the right side, that's where we have the steering wheel in India, feels dangerous because the steering wheel here is on the left. In India, we don't drive as fast as the French cars in the fast track and we overtake on the right. Everything is opposite here in Europe. And don't even get me started on the French language in the mock test, the Code de la Route. I took this test and the words in this test we just don't use in everyday life, and you need to know this. So in this video I'm going to break down why getting a driver's license as a foreigner in France could be more complicated than you think, although you've been driving for years. The exact process or the steps you need to follow for the theory exam and the practical exam, and how much money this thing is going to cost. Spoiler, it's really expensive, but I have a clever way out of it to not pay all this money. Right, so this is what the process looks like. You start with the theory exam. This costs about 30 euros. Then you can choose to apply to the practical exam yourself or with a driving school. Once you pass this exam, you need to contact the ANTS. I know these guys, Association Nationale de Titres Sécurisés. I have had some exchanges with them in the near past. I'm surprised how much of what I need in my life is on this website, Service Public. In fact, if I cataloged all the sections of my handbook Fit in France that points to the Service Public website, that would be the biggest chapter. Everything you need as a foreigner in France is on this website. Now in the UK, you can take this exam in 21 languages. In Germany, you can take it in 12 languages. In France, you can do it in one language, French. Now you can technically hire a translator who will help you to translate each question into English. But I have a friend who did this and the translation was so poor, he failed the exam. And then he retook the same thing in French and then he passed it. Because the translations are not well done, you don't understand exactly what they're trying to say. They try to translate word for word. It doesn't come through. Now I need to step out and go have Sunday lunch with some friends. I'm going to leave you guys over here and come back when it's a little darker, and then we'll complete talking about this. Let's get the lights running and get back to business. Now, for the practical test, I took a mock test and I did pretty well. And then I took another mock test and I did really bad. So the vocabulary in this exam, it's really important even for someone who speaks French fluently. Traffic words are not something that you hear on a daily basis. So you need to prepare for that. So let's go ahead and make those bookings. So you have 3,000 questions, pédagogiques, and 100% conforme à l'examen. Very nice. So all the stuff that I need, it's now in this app. Now for that trick I had up my sleeve. There's this thing called the Compte Personnel de Formation, CPF. I'm gonna sign into CPF. I've spoken about this in another video, the financial benefits video. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, go have a look at that. It's basically money that the government gives you. You know, the companies that you worked on, they put in 500 euros every year that you worked in France into an account, and that account you can spend it in any training that you like. And I'm going to spend it for my driver's license. Why? So if it was 30 euros to set up the driver's license thing at La Poste, and if it was 15 euros to get this, all the questions so that I can practice, how much do you think that the auto école will cost? The place where you go to do the driving thing. 100 bucks, 200 bucks, 500 bucks? Something like 20 hours of practice. I think I'll need 10, 15, 20 hours. Those are the three things. And it goes up to 2,000 euros, this thing. 2,000 euros to practice with the auto école. It's called the Permis B en présentiel. There you go. 1,290, 3,190, 540, 1,000. Wow, all of these prices. I'm actually traveling to Germany this weekend and then again in another 2 weeks. So I don't think now is the best time to book this. But I will pick one of these guys in Clichy, maybe this one. And luckily I don't have to pay all of this money, so out of 1,047, and I need to pay 100 euros. Now a couple of things that I've prepared for in the past, like learning the ropes of my job when I first got my job like 5 years ago, learning French idiom stuff that I come across and I want to keep in my mind, and for my nationality stuff, all these questions and all of these facts. It's hard to remember all of this stuff. So I rely heavily on Anki Droid. I've been using this forever. I've made so many videos about this before. Check this out. Now I have this deck called Code de la Route, and I've chosen it over here on the left, and it has all of these questions, this information that I've captured, and there's a front and the back side, and it shows you the last time I revised this thing. So you have everything that I capture ever about this Autoroute from Ornikar, I put it over here, and so it's always here. And if I go back to my nationality preparation, all of these questions from the nationality preparation that I did, everything is here. I call this the big guns approach because just reading some stuff, sometimes it doesn't stay in your mind. And without Anki, honestly, I would not learn interesting stuff. And that's what I'm going to use for my Code de la Route exam as well. Having this thing on my phone is so convenient because I just fire this up and I can revise for a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 times in a day. And in a week, I'm ready. Booking the theory exam is something you can do overnight at La Poste, somewhere close to where you live. So I'll do that when I feel a little more confident after preparing with Ornikar. And I think I'm going to need some driving experience with an auto école. Because of all of these things that I told you before, I tend to go to the left when it's like emergency mode. I have to learn to go to the right. I need to learn to use these French rules, which we don't have back home in India. This priorité à droite and all of this good stuff. I just need to get used to that. And they make you get on the highway, read the signs and get off the highway. I'm used to using Google Maps back home in India. I've got to prepare for this stuff. Then I go back to India and I step into a car and I drive and I feel so comfortable. You know, I need to feel comfortable here in France. Now, I haven't shown you much of how this Anki thing works in this video. If you're curious to see what that looks like, the whole big guns approach, it's in this other video that I made when I'm preparing for the nationality exam. Thank you so much for tuning into this one. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself and keep learning.